All right, the protest at Columbia University, just one of several anti-Israel protests that have taken place across the country this week, Katrina. They've been all over.
Yeah, they sure have. And we're going to talk about the rise in anti-Semitism and, of course, the escalated tensions surrounding Israel that are happening every moment, truly, as we speak, right here in the United States. Law professor Thane Rosenbaum joins us, and joining us in studio, Columbia graduate Ben Weingarten. Gentlemen, great to have you with us. Ben, I'm going to start with you because this is your alma mater. You're watching this unfold right before your very eyes. Your reaction and also your reaction to the suspension of Ilhan Omar's daughter.
Let me take the latter one first, which is, this hits close to home because I also wrote a book about Ilhan Omar, American Ingrate, and that book, the thesis of the book was that, and this is written in 2020, she was the future, if not the present, of the Democrat Party. And you see the progressive base increasingly dominating that party. You see it not just among the squad, but to the White House itself, which has put the screws to Israel in a million different ways since October 7th, seeks to create a Palestinian terror state, essentially, as a consequence of a massive jihad in a day. And when I look at her daughter getting arrested for violating policies, like daughter, like mother, because Ilhan Omar herself has been arrested multiple times as well with respect to these quote-unquote political protests. But let's be clear about what's going on at Columbia and elsewhere. These are anti-civilizational promoters of jihad and the genocide of Jews. And they will say, well, it's just anti-Zionism. It's a distinction without a difference when you're talking about siding with the people who want to effectuate a second Holocaust and massacre the Jewish state, which is the size of New Jersey. And we shouldn't downplay the fact that when you have 300 plus projectiles, drones, ballistic missiles, and cruise missiles, that could have been cataclysmic. And that's not something that we should just ignore and dismiss. What is this, is this anything new? In reality, no. It's never been as overt and in your face. But when I was at Columbia and I graduated in 2010, I documented pictures of Israel Apartheid Week. They built a wall in the middle of campus. They had tons of rallies just like these, the exact same propaganda. It's been going on for decades, but now the whole world is seeing the consequences of it. It's not just crazy kids and faculty on campuses. It's at the highest corridors of power in America.
Thane, can you expand on that? Why do you think it's gotten to the highest corridors in America here? I think you're seeing it rear its ugly head throughout the generations, and now they've made their way into government, still largely happening at Ivy League schools and schools across the country. Can you elaborate?
Well, Bob, it's my alma mater, too. And I will tell you that what we saw last week in Michigan, Death to America, lit a match. Welcome to what Europe has seen for 20 years. This goes way beyond Israel, and I hope Newsmax watchers are watching. If you are now in London or Paris or Madrid or Stockholm, you're shaking your head and saying, finally came to America. Good luck to you guys. This is the Arab street coming to Main Street in America. And, it's ironic that the argument is that Omar's daughter hasn't had any disciplinary measures taken against her. Exactly. The president of the university testified the other day and said, we haven't done enough. She didn't say the truth is we would never discipline a person of color. We would never discipline a woman who's a Muslim woman protesting against Jews in Israel. We would never do that. We would be considered racist. It would invoke all the Islamophobia cards. So I think it's ironic that the president went back to do her job. And guess what? She did her job. Columbia charged these people. Right. They were arrested. The question is, will they be charged? I mean, that's a very big difference. And as you know, Nina, you're a Harvard graduate. You send your kid to an Ivy League school, and now they're charged and disciplined at the university, and if you release their names, and they're now unemployable, which is exactly what should happen. We have no idea who these people are. Many of them are professional protesters. Right. Who knows how many of them are even students? How many of there are student visas? Sure. They should be sent home. Last words, if you're screaming, I am Hamas, we are Hamas, you are a terrorist. You are aligning yourself, and we have anti-terrorism laws in the United States, and we should be applying it against these students.
Yeah, and I am happy to hear that at least 3 students we know for sure have been suspended, showing there are consequences for these extreme actions. Thane Rosenbaum, thanks so much for joining us as always, and Ben Weingarten, please stick around with us. And now we're going to continue our conversation to get more into the politics of it all. Of course, the war in Israel, a lightning rod for political division here in America, putting President Biden in a kind of a sticky sticky situation. His progressive followers want humanitarian aid to go to Gaza. They want an immediate ceasefire. But then again, you know, and the squad is saying, we think this is ridiculous. But then, of course, more traditional Democrats siding with Israel. But now the squad coming back together. AOC, as we showed a little bit earlier, we'll show you again, coming to Omar's defense. Here's what she posted on X. What is going on at Barnard and Columbia while claiming unjust crackdowns against Palestinian groups?
That's right. For help with the divide over Israel and its effects on Capitol Hill, we are joined by former Georgia Congressman Jack Kingston and White House and Washington reporter for Political Daniel Littman. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on here. Daniel, I want to get your reaction to just, you know, the previous conversation we were having about these protests here at Ivy League schools all across the country here. But then AOC chiming in, making it seem like it's not that big of a deal, kind of questioning the fact that these students were even removed in the first place.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that the squad, while they are getting lots of attention, at least two of the members, prominent members, Jamal Bowman from New York and Cori Bush from St. Louis, they are down double digits in polls because they have moderate Democrats who are challenging them in primaries, and they're backed by people who do not want them on Capitol Hill. And then they also have gotten pushback from their own districts about, hey, Palestine and Israel doesn't really affect me. What about working on affordable housing or jobs or healthcare? Because it's a matter of priorities, and they have chosen their priorities.
Congressman, Omar is suggesting that Columbia University, those protests are simply, they're not anti-Jewish. Okay, not sure what they are then, but of course the GOP not happy about that. What do you think?
You know, I'd say the squad, they love the politics of this. Daniel knows because he covered it. I think that the ball was set in play when Virginia Fox months ago had a hearing with the presidents of Penn, MIT, and Harvard, costing the jobs of two of those presidents, on anti-Semitic activity on campuses because they weren't being tough. And so the Columbia president comes in this week, and she at least is tougher than the Harvard or the MIT or Penn presidents. And so now you got the left mad at them. I think that you're seeing a swing a little bit towards being more moderate for college campuses in terms of not just being anti-Semitic, but enforcing the law and so forth. And that's what's needed. Congress had to step in here. But I would suggest to you that if Virginia Fox had not have had that hearing this week, the president of Columbia would not have been tough on these students, and that encampment would still be going on, and those students will still be trespassing.
That's a great point. I do want to add the encampment, the initial one was broken down, but a new one has already popped up. So we'll be monitoring what happens there. Former Congressman Jack Kingston and Daniel Littman, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. See you, Daniel.
Bye.
All right.